Okay, so Rick, can you tell me a little bit about the difference between the SAT and ACT, especially with this new digital SAT, which as parents, none of us took this test back in the day.
Right, right. So, yeah, in I guess it was around 2022, 2023, College Board made the decision that they were going to convert all testing to the digital format. So in March 2024, College Board debuted their digital SAT. Now, there are a number of things that are very different about this test than there had been with the paper test. First and foremost, the test is radically shorter now than it ever had been. Full testing time now is about 2 hours, 15 minutes. One section of reading and writing and one section of math. Um, the way the testing works now, the kids do two modules, 27 questions in each in language arts, 22 questions in each in math. And how they perform in the first module of each section will go a great extent to determining what their final score will be. Because if the kids perform well enough in module one, they will get kicked to the higher level module two. Only when you get kicked to the higher level module two do you have a chance at scoring up to 800 on the test, which is the maximum SAT score. If you don't do well enough on that first module, you will get put into the lower level second module, and the maximum score you can get on that, even if you run the table and are perfect, would be around a 650 or 660. So the key really is doing well enough in that first module to get kicked up to the harder second module. That's what allows you to really kind of maximize your score. So on the ACT, interestingly, has had a digital offering now for the last 5 years. They've been paper since 1959. Unlike College Board, ACT does give you the option of taking the test on paper or digitally. Right now, we do recommend the kids actually do the paper testing for any number of reasons. What's interesting, though, with the two tests is that they largely test the same material, but really go about it in very different ways. And, I think some of the biggest differences right now between SAT and ACT is the support that College Board gives to the SAT versus the support that ACT gives to the ACT. And by the way, a lot of parents don't understand, but College Board and ACT are two different companies. College Board is based in New York. ACT is based in Iowa City, Iowa. So the ACT really is rather different from the SAT in terms of how they test. The underlying content remains very much the same. The ACT is now three sections with an optional science section. So the first section on ACT is English, followed by a math section, followed by a reading section. That is now what makes up the ACT. The science section, which had been part of the ACT since 1959, was made optional. The reason it was is so that the ACT very nicely has a 2 hour, 15-minute time, just like the SAT, when students elect to not take the science section. So that's what makes the two tests exactly the same. From a timing standpoint, at this time, it's tough to tell. We don't have enough information from the colleges about who exactly is going to want science versus who will not want science.
Right. So for the class of 2027, we have to plan ahead because we won't know what the colleges are going to decide until next summer. And so for most of our kids, that's why we're recommending take the science section so your bases are covered. But if you
Right.
hit a score in that first test, first official test date, if you hit a science score you're happy with, great. Maybe next time around you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. And that's one of the things I think we'd like, most or all of our students to do, just to have that in their back pocket if they need it.
So can you talk a little bit about the timing and when a student is ready to take the test officially?
Yeah, and most of the time it comes down to when they finish Algebra 2. The prerequisites on the math side tend to really determine when the kids are able to take these tests. Ideally, they've completed Algebra 2, geometry, any stat work, anything like that they've had is fantastic. But at a minimum, would like to see the kids through Algebra 2 before they start their prep. There will be a concept or two from pre-calc that is tested by both College Board and ACT. We do cover that, though, as part of the prep to make sure that kids who are not in pre-calc have all the material that they need for either exam.
That was going to be my next question, because we do have a whole bunch of juniors who are on the more traditional math track of having Algebra 2 junior year. So what do you recommend for those kids?
If they're doing Algebra 2 as juniors, I think the ideal time to start is after the holidays. Depending on if the schools give midterms, any number of schools around here give midterms in January. What we found over the years, let the kids get ready for those midterms, and starting up after midterms is perfectly fine. The tests that are available for kids to do after the January midterms, there's a March, May, and June SAT, and there's a February, April, and June ACT, all good for the kids to take.
Well, that leads to a good follow-up question. Are there certain test dates that are better for students to test on in terms of official dates?
It really only comes down to ACT because there are 3 test dates a year. We just had one in October with the ACT. There's another one coming up in April and June. And those 3 tests are eligible for something that ACT calls My Answer Key. It's a $30 fee. And when you pay that, when you register to take the test, what ACT does, and the way it worked for the October test, the kids got their scores back on October 28th. About 7 days later, all the kids got copies of the test and their answers deposited in their accounts on ACT.org. So that's something that does not exist anymore. College Board used to have that program, but they shut it down when they rolled out the digital exam. ACT still releases the tests and answers for 3 tests a year for 2025-26. It's the October, April, and June exams.
Okay, great. And you want to talk a little bit about the practice testing and how kids get started? So let's say we've taken the PSAT at school, we've already got the algebra and geometry content. What's the next best step if a kid wants to take the official test, let's say later in the spring, April or May?
Yeah, the first thing we do ask kids come in to do the practice test with us. So we just generally ask the kids pick out a couple Sundays that work.
We do testing every Sunday.
Every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. at our Chatham and Maplewood offices. And yeah, we have the kids come in. They take an SAT one Sunday and ACT another. Then after they take the test, I generally sit down with the student and the parents to discuss the results. I'm always curious what the kids have to say about the tests. I can weigh in with what I see in the numbers. Then we would figure out which test works better. And at that point, we would plan the prep.
Great. And then those practice tests then serve as good practice, obviously, as the kids are preparing for the test. So they use them as baseline, but then also to build the endurance, presumably, as they're working through the preparation.
Yeah, we do the testing year round, and we certainly encourage the kids we're working with. There's no charge for the testing for our students. We encourage them to come in. They wanted to come in every Sunday. They are more than welcome to. Every time they come in, it is some of the best data we could possibly get because we get to see with little Johnny or little Susie what's working and what's more importantly, what's not working. So we get to help them fix things as they're making their way towards their test dates. So those practice tests, it helps build endurance, and it also gives us fantastic data to help the kids with. And
confidence, I imagine, too, as they're working through this stuff, and then they can put it to practice. If you know on a practice test you can get X score, and it's a real ACT that was given last year, you know you can walk in on the real test day and do the same thing.
Absolutely.
So official test dates, how many times do you normally recommend a kid take this test officially?
Generally, I think 2 to 3 times. If you're doing it more than 3 times, you're probably not doing it correctly.
Don't need 10.
Yeah, I mean, you are limited. College Board and ACT they do cap it at 10. But we generally find that most students get their score in 2 to 3 attempts. So
great.
All right.
One last question.
Yes.
What's a good score?
Well, a good score is all dependent on where you're applying to school. So, around here, I would say, even though national averages are about 19, 20 points for ACT and around 1,000 for the SAT, in these parts, the scores are closer to around 1,200 or 26, 27 for ACT. So we have a lot of very strong students around us.
And that probably heads more towards my side of things with college counseling,
Exactly.
where we could dive into that a little bit more.
We defer to Amanda. Yes.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
All right. Thanks, Rick.
No problem. Thanks, Amanda. Have a nice afternoon.